Hey everyone, and welcome to KPC Underground. This is the podcast we do live. Well, it's not really live, it's recorded and then edited. Anyway, we're under the stage here, and I'm so excited to be with the brothers Landreth. Joey and Dave, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey, you and I met several years ago when we did this rig rundown of your pedal board and guitar at that weird venue.
Yeah. It was like it literally felt like a show in an English class. Like it felt like it was in a high school. I think it was in a high school.
I think it was an old high school, and I got there and they were setting up just like a Mackey's, for the mains, and they were setting up a portable PA in there. And but I was really impressed actually that you guys just really played to that room. It was like, okay, we're like not playing that loud, and obviously your use of dynamics is sort of like part of what really sets you apart in your originality there. But anyway, these guys are here for a show that they are doing tonight at Kirkland Performance Center, which is the last show of their tour. And if you're not familiar with the brothers Landreth, definitely go and check them out. And I'm just so excited to have you guys here. I've been a fan for a really long time. And there's a trend going around on social media that's like when someone plays something really beautiful, for someone to comment like, "Who hurt you?" And I feel like that's what I want to ask you guys. It's just like, who hurt you?
Oh, because we're going to be here for a lot longer than 15 minutes.
How far back you want to go here?
Yeah, I don't know, Dave. Who hurt you?
I mean, I think realistically, no.
It's a loaded question.
It's been a pretty nice existence so far. I think what you're hearing in our music is that we really embrace vulnerability in the stories that we're telling, and we figured out from a really early stage of our sort of artistic career that we needed to make sure that the stories were really honest and integral, and that the idea of getting up on stage and singing something that really didn't resonate with us was impossible. I remember we tried writing songs that maybe we wanted them to be more tough or more edgy or badass, and every time we would put something together and Joey would stand up there, he would choke on the words, he couldn't get it out. It's just I can't do this. This isn't me. And we just realized really quickly that we just needed to get up there and speak our truth, and a lot of it is just talking about our feelings and our experiences and the things we've witnessed. So who hurt us? Just a couple of people, but we just like to tell the stories over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, music has always been, I think, a lot of musicians kind of go to music first as an outlet or as a sanctuary, a safe place. And I think, for me, it was no different. Like your angsty teenager trying to figure out how things feel and what they're all about. And the guitar was a good place for me to start to explore that stuff. Yeah. And now that I'm an adult and I spent thousands of dollars and countless hours in therapy, there are other things that I do, but music is still kind of like, I jokingly, but it's not a joke. It's very serious. Music is kind of the first step before I take things to therapy.
100%.
It's like, okay, something's here. I need to start to feel it, and it starts there. And so when we take it onto stage, it's we come at it from a similar place. We're just playing from the heart, trying to play from the heart. If all things go perfectly, we do, and so that's kind of the main thing for us.
Yeah. And we're hearing, I'm not sure if you out there can hear, but we're hearing their lovely drummer and co-musician Roman up there sound checking. So we're not soundproof at all here. This is like a very thin layer. So if you can hear that, that's what's going on here. But I mean, I say that just, obviously that's a loaded, silly first question to ask you. But I say that just to say I really resonate with so much of what you do. And I think it's to the point where it really transcends genre. You don't even have to be into blues rock to understand and appreciate, I think, what you guys are doing. And that's what I love about what you've done. And I think what makes you all unique is that that ability to kind of, it's this happens to be the genre we're in is sort of this Americana folk rock blues thing, but really you're just speaking your heart, and I think that really comes through. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
Oh man, well thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much. You Joey, you specifically, I don't know if you're as much of a gearhead as this guy is, but are you?
He's got it pretty bad.
Are you
too.
as much of a over
yeah?
there?
Gadget. We love our toys so much. Nowhere near to the extent that Joey is, but like I also totally appreciate technology and gear and toys and love chasing sounds and tones and stuff like that.
How do you see the intersection between like the raw emotion of like what you're feeling and then going after like a specific fuzz sound or whatever it is? But how do you approach that when you're like from a writing standpoint, when you're writing a song? Is like, what sounds are we gonna get for this?
It's all kind of a part of the same mechanism. We just sort of chase our curiosity around, and Dave will come to me and say, I heard this sound, or I found this pedal, and how do we implement it? And so we'll bang our heads together and figure out like the right place for it in the signal path, and gear is a big part of my creative process too. But it's, for me, the gear is stuff that I really enjoy. Like building a pedal board is very much a part of my sort of artistic expression, almost as much as writing and playing is. Like it's a big part of how I like to interact with the medium.
Yeah.
But the main thing for me is if the sound is interesting or inspiring, it keeps me in the moment.
Yeah.
And so it really does come back to, it is music first, but the gear is something that keeps me from thinking about what I'm going to eat after the show, or oh dang, I forgot to put this on the grocery list. Like those are the things that keep me there in the moment. And if the guitar sounds good, or the bass sounds good, or the house sounds good, then I'm there. And so that's what it serves for me. And and it also, like, I play the guitar in a certain way, and finding a new piece of gear might push me to play differently, and I think it's the same thing for you.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is like, has it ever been kind of outside in, where the gear, you get a new fun whatever it is, and then you sit down to play it, whether it's a new guitar or a new piece of gear, a new amp or whatever. You sit down to play it, and all of a sudden something comes out that maybe wouldn't have, if maybe you didn't have that piece of gear. I don't know if you've had that experience before.
No, not so much for me. I think my sort of creative direction is really focused on the storytelling. It kind of always has been. So I'm really interested in the words, the lyrics, the melodies, and how they're communicating. And then to me, the tones really are like, there's sort of two stages of that. There's what happens live, and in that case, I'm just looking to be inspired by what I hear. So having a nice amp and a nice axe and some cool pedals, what that does is it just sort of makes me feel a little more comfortable in my skin up there. And I think more so it's about removing the hurdles, where if what I'm hearing on stage is distracting me from doing what I need to do, then it's a kind of an impediment. And then when we're in the studio, then really I'm just trying to find the thing that most supports the message, whatever that is. If it's what supports the story or the sort of emotional intent of what we're doing, trying to marry those things and just trying to and really just trying to support. So it's not for me, it's not about making the bass poke out or do anything really unique or like I'm not trying to like bring attention to what I'm doing on the bass. I'm just trying to find something that's really appropriate and just sort of gets underneath the lyrics and the story.
Yeah. Turning the corner to like songwriting, because you both are obviously writers, in the band, and sharing vocal duties as well. We have some educational programs that we've just started here, and one of them is songwriting, and it's a lot of people who are like writing their first song ever. Do you remember the first song that you each ever wrote, and what was that? What was that process like? Obviously, it's like scary to kind of like write your first song, or was it something you were proud of in the moment, or is it something you even remember fully?
Oh yeah, I mean, the first song that I ever wrote completely. There's one song that kind of maybe predates it, but I don't count it because I changed it so many times, and and also it sucks. But the first song that I finished, the beginning to end, was on our first record.
Wow.
A song called Our Love. And
wow.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
That's the first song you wrote?
Yeah, well, the first song that I finished.
That's kind of not
so
fair.
there are other songs that I got part of the way into and were just like, oh.
That's what I was actually fishing for.
yeah. Oh no, there's some dogs in the closet for sure. But the first song that ever was like, I finished it and was like, oh, this is complete.
Yeah.
Is that song.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know about you, Dave. If you remember the specific like writing your first song or
I do.
What was that experience like?
I remember the idea of wanting to be a songwriter and writing. I was on the road it was the first tour that I'd been on, first real tour that I'd been on, and I was toying with this idea of like, I really would love to be able to call myself a songwriter. But I have to write a song first. And so I wrote a song, and it's terrible, and I hope nobody ever hears it, and it is a total stinker. And it's cheesy and bad and everything.
What's that?
No, I'm not even gonna utter a syllable of it because
you gotta get those ones out to get to dig through those ones.
Oh, there's lots more.
I just remember that the important thing for me was like when it was done, I was like, hey, now I can call myself a songwriter. And I remember there being a shift. And I remember starting to and I remember I've always been a proponent of
fake it till you make it.
And I was like, I'm just going to call myself a songwriter and the songs will come.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a turning point. I was like, now I can call myself a songwriter. Right. And then I started talking about writing songs as if I had written more than one song.
Yeah.
And eventually they caught up. The songs caught up with the title.
So much of it is that psychological battle, isn't it? Just like believing that you're good enough to do something, you know. And I mean, being a musician, full stop, is a lot of that. Is a lot of that. And I know you both have kind of been through the ringer on that. And you know, I really appreciate, you know, about your latest album too. You really dive deep into just personal stuff, and you know, both of you, and you know. One of the things, just from a production standpoint, I know that you did differently on that was kind of outside collaborators, you know, sending away for drum tracks. And you worked with one of my favorite drummers ever, Aaron Sterling, who's like genius mind and a beautiful human being. And what was that process like? And I guess maybe tell people or talk about how that was different than records you've done in the past.
Well, we've made records pretty traditionally in the sense that we start with bed tracks, drums, bass, guitar, and then we move on to overdub sessions, and you know, so we'll do sort of candy stuff and vocals and build off of bed tracks, and we didn't do that this time. Right. We started basically by putting together guide tracks that had the acoustic guitar and Dave playing bass, so that Aaron could hear how Dave plays and play to Dave.
Right.
And then we just sent them into the internet.
Yeah.
And then
prayed for the best.
9 hours later, there was often, Aaron would say, okay, I've got you guys scheduled in Wednesday and Thursday this week. Whatever songs you want done, send them over. And then he would text me and go, here's the direction that I'm going in. What do you think? And then in a lot of cases, he would just send something and we'd listen to it and go, perfect.
Right.
But it was very different because we're used to, I'm very used to being able to direct traffic during a session and go, okay, this is working, that's not working. Can we, and I mean, not just me, we all do it, but that's a bit of my safety blanket is being able to micromanage a session. And you can't do that. Right. In the way that we made this record. And so we just had to trust. Yeah. I had to trust.
Yeah.
And I learned in very real time that there was a benefit to me shutting my mouth and letting people do what they do best. Because Aaron did things that I never would have suggested. And I probably would have sabotaged if we'd have been in the room together. Sure. And so it was a really, really heavy learning experience for me to walk away. And we did the same thing with the mix. Like, normally I'm pretty hands-on with the mix, and this time it was like we sent it away, and unless something was glaringly like, oh, maybe, what always ends up happening is I always want more background vocals than people generally want to put. So
Yeah.
my feedback is almost always like just, you know, a dB or two more of the background vocals.
Sure.
But that's like when the record came back from the mixer, there was like very, very few revisions. Very few revisions.
And it sounds amazing. Do y'all produce anyone else's records? Or I mean, I know you have the label now. Is that part of that? Is kind of, I know maybe finding artists, but are you kind of developing them and helping produce them as well? Or
we've done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
We collaborated with our pal Marielle Buckley. We did like a co-production with a couple songs with her.
Yeah.
And I co-produced a record for an artist named Leith Ross. And then I'm working on one other project, but it's not really something that we do a ton of.
Right.
But you know, as projects come up that are like fascinating, I think we definitely would.
Right.
But just sort of the main thing is like we are more focused on what we're up to at the moment.
Sure.
And so I think we would have fun making records for other people, but we just kind of want to make records for ourselves.
Right.
You know, and then between making records for ourselves and touring them and then having a young family.
Yeah, right.
There's not much time left.
Right. Well, I could chat with you for hours, but I am going to let you go so you can chill out for a bit before your show. But thanks so much for sitting down with us and having a little chat today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All of you out there, definitely go check out the Brothers Landreth online at their website and check out future tour dates. I think you guys are going to Europe or somewhere, Scotland or Ireland or somewhere. This is the last show of the kind of American West Coast sort of side of the tour. But keep your eyes peeled for dates. Definitely do not miss them if they come to your town. Stream their music and buy it and all that good stuff. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for KPC Underground. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting KPC at kpcenter.org/donate. Your generosity helps us keep this and other programs going at Kirkland Performance Center. Be sure to check out our website for the latest events coming up. And hey, we'd also love to hear from you. Please rate our podcast, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. And if you have a specific question or an idea for a show, email us at podcast@kpcenter.org. Thanks for listening. Perfect. Thanks, y'all. Thanks so much. Thank you.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yes. That's how it's going to start. That's staying in. We were still rolling.